Good day, everyone. Good day, senior high school students. Welcome to our subject, Introduction to the Philosophy of the Human Person. We are in Quarter 1, Module 1, entitled Doing Philosophy. What are the objectives? Number 1, to distinguish a holistic perspective from a partial point of view. Number 2, to realize the value of doing philosophy in obtaining a broad perspective on life. And number 3, to do a philosophical reflection on a concrete situation from a holistic perspective. So I hope you can attain those objectives later. Pretest. As you answer the pretest, it is okay that you get low scores because this is just a review of your knowledge about philosophy. But in the post-test, I hope you can get high scores or perfect scores because that will prove that you have learned from our lessons. Now, let's go with our lesson. More than 2,500 years ago, a sage in South Asia, particularly in India, it was named Gautama Buddha declared that life is suffering. That is the first of his four noble truths. Now you look at this. Who among you are familiar with Circus Charlie? During my childhood days, I usually play this game. If you look at your life, you will see that it is a series of challenges that you have to overcome if you want to survive. It feels like you are competing in a race in which you are required to successfully jump the hurdles in order to win. And each challenge in life is really a question or a bunch of questions that you have to answer. If you are not feeling well, for example, you might ask, why am I feeling this way? What is the cause? How can I overcome it? So that's the process. And how will it affect my life and the people around me? So that's the consequence. So that's philosophy. There's a cause, the process, and the consequence. So philosophy is our subject matter for this course. So what is philosophy? From the pictures below, in the slide, you can see what philosophy is. So that pictures is the philosophers. Now, I want you to look at this picture. What do you notice from the picture? Next, did anyone get the correct answer? Why or why not? Next, what does this picture imply about our effort to understand the realities of life or answer our perennial problems? So very good. You have answered all the questions. Now, in this next slide, you can see a set of pictures. In these pictures, imagine that a vaccine for COVID-19 is already available and therefore the community quarantine was lifted throughout the Philippines. Freedom at last. You decided to travel to the country where you wish to. However, during one of your travel adventures, you come upon an unfamiliar area, and therefore, as much as you hate to admit it, you have to accept the truth. You are lost. Obviously, the very first question you want to answer is the question, where am I? However, to answer this question, another question needs answering. How can I discover it? Or how do I know it? Should you ask a stranger for directions? Should you consult a Google map? Should you look for clues on road signs and street names? Answering these questions are important because knowledge is not automatic. There is a method in knowing something, including knowing your present location. When you answer the first two questions successfully, you will discover your location. You are no longer lost. Still, you need to answer one remaining question. What should I do? Should you walk, take a bus, wait for someone to fetch you? You need to take one of these actions to arrive successfully at your destination. You might not realize this, but you are already doing philosophy when you are answering these three questions. Where am I? How do I know it? And what should I do? These three questions are the primary questions of philosophy. So now, when we say philosophy, it came from the Greek word philos, which means love, and sophia, which means wisdom. So, philosophy is love of wisdom. The people who are studying philosophy are called philosophers. In this slide, you can see Greece. Greece is the birthplace of philosophy in the West. To be more precise, it is the ancient Greek city of Miletus in the western coast of what is now Turkey that gave birth to philosophy. It is in this city that the first philosopher in the West, Thales, lived. Thales is the father of philosophy in the Western civilization. He lived between 624 and 546 BCE in a contemporary of Lydian king Croesus and the statesman Solon. What made Thales a philosopher is his desire to know the ultimate stuff that makes up the different things we perceive. You see, when you look at the world, we encounter different things: people, trees, clouds, mountains, rivers, etc. Now, Thales believe that despite the different things we encounter, there is one underlying stuff or substance in which everything is composed. He believes that there is one in the many. Thales was the first individual who tried to reduce the multiplicity into unity. But his explanation of natural phenomena is devoid of gods and goddesses of the old religion of Greece. It is completely rational. It represents a departure from the mythological religion of Greece. Thales' approach highlights the difference between religion and philosophy. Religion rests on faith while philosophy rests on reason. Thales' greatest contribution to philosophy is not his identification of water as the ultimate stuff of the universe. His greatest contribution is the problem he posed: what is the ultimate stuff of the universe? And his approach in solving that problem. In studying, Thales make us realize that philosophical activity is characterized by three things. This is: philosophy involves the widest generalizations. While people concern themselves with shoes and clothes, the latest gossip, and about their favorite celebrities, their crushes, philosophers concern themselves with big issues pertaining to the truth, the good, the just, the beautiful, and existence of practically all things, while scientists concern themselves with scientific knowledge, historians with knowledge with the past, economists with a knowledge of supply and demand, philosophers concern themselves with the nature of knowledge as such, which embraces all type of knowledge previously mentioned and more. Second, philosophy is all about fundamentals. A fundamental is the most or the root cause that explains almost everything in a given context. To understand this, imagine that knowledge is like a building with levels. Now, the higher level depends on the lower levels. If somehow the lower level crumbles, then all the higher levels that rest upon it will collapse. A fundamental is like the lower floor that supports everything above it. That kind of support is exactly what philosophy provides. If somehow philosophical ideas like consciousness and existence disappear, then knowledge of any kind will not make any sense because there will be nothing to know and no one to know. So this is about existence and consciousness. And lastly, philosophy is driven by the desire to integrate the things into one coherent whole. As the celebrated philosopher George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel said, the truth is the whole. If you notice, tales want to reduce the multiplicity of things into a single stuff. He desires to find the one in the many. What are the branches of philosophy? Branches of philosophy have many. So when we say normative philosophy, so there are two kinds of philosophy. This is the cognitive philosophy and the normative philosophy. When we say cognitive philosophy, this includes logic, epistemology, and metaphysics. When we say normative philosophy, this is ethics, politics, and aesthetics. These are the questions behind every branches of philosophy. Metaphysics, what is real? Aesthetics, what is beauty? Ethics, what is value? Epistemology, how do we know? Logic, how do we reason? Political philosophy, how should societies be governed? Each philosophy has different focus. So it is divided into different disciplines. So again, we should remember philosophy can be defined as the study that uses human reason to investigate the ultimate causes, reasons, and principles which govern all things. Thank you very much, and I hope you understand our lesson 1 for the introduction to the philosophy of the human person. Till our next meeting, God bless you all, senior high school students.